On this episode, David Reece, from Bangalore Choir.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Talking About Rock. I'm Rob Edwards. Here we bring you rock interviews from veteran and upcoming artists. Subscribe on our YouTube channel to stay up to date. Follow us on our social media and our website, talkingaboutrock.com. Okay, today's guest was the former frontman for Accept before bringing together the hard rock outfit Bangalore Choir. And with their 92 debut album, On Target, they feature songs co-written by John Bon Jovi and Aldo Nova. Fast forward to 2025 and they're back. Bangalore Choir have released their second single, Driver's Seat, off the upcoming album, Rapid Fire Secession, On Target Part 2, coming out October 24th. Let's welcome David Reece from Bangalore Choir. David, how are you?
Hello. Great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Robert.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, man. So first up, let's talk about the first single you guys got out, Bullet Train. Recently hit #1 on 97 Underground playlist there, and I just saw that it was like for 4 weeks that's been hitting there. 5 weeks now?
Yeah, I mean, I was blown away. I mean, I can't thank them enough, and the fans, because apparently it's a lot of requests that make that happen as well. So yeah, and then Driver's Seat is just been thrown into moderate, and it's climbing. So yeah, can't say enough great stuff about it. I'm blown away.
Yeah, definitely. So hope you keep the momentum going for the new single there, Driver's Seat. Tell us a little bit about putting this album together and what the current lineup looks like.
I've been solo for a number of years, and I was really tired of the band thing. And I had been performing in France last November, December, and I started kind of taking a look around at, first of all, the live set. I do a lot of On Target in the set, and to my amazement, people know those songs. Because, when grunge came out, they told me my life was over and nobody knew about.
Right. You guys were kind of like right at the end of the 80s, just before it hit, right?
Yeah. And so I did not know, grunge didn't really, I'm living in Italy, and it didn't really cross the pond until like a year or two later, and then hung around here for about a year. But I didn't know that the record was highly successful and all of that. So had I known, I would have gypsied it over here and couched it and played beer joints and coffee halls if I had to.
Right, sure.
You go with what you're told. But the thinking was, I was doing pretty well as a solo artist. I still do. But I saw, Mike Tramp's Songs of White Lion. I started seeing, the Foreigner thing. I was looking at branding. And I said, I could kick this up a notch and get better offers, festivals and venues with the brand name back.
Right.
And B, as I perform, 5-6 songs from On Target, that really kind of planted the seed. So when on the way home back to Italy, I called the management and said, "Hey, I've made this decision. I'm going back to Bangalore Choir." And they were like, "Yes," because the booking agency were like, "Yes, branding is everything, as you know." So if you want me to proceed from there, I can tell you how this all came into fruition. I knew that I already had a couple labels, one that I was offered an option on that I was considering. And I was watching BraveWords for quite a while and what they were doing, and I'm affiliated with Giles Lavery and some of those people. And I called him and said, "I want to do this, but I want to do it like On Target." And he's like, "We'll sign you, but it has to be similar to what you did with that record." Because, I've tried to do a few BC records in the interim over the last 10 years or so, and I'd have like 2 or 3 really good ones and then some filler, to be honest. So it really wasn't really hitting the mark. So I went back in time, which was really tough. You got to go back to 92 and think what was going through my head. I have to accept what was my thought process. And I studied On Target heavily. And my writing partner, Andy Susamil, and he had done some BC shows with me in the past. I said, we got to do this. So the first 4 or 5 attempts weren't hitting it for me. And actually, the first song that he and I put together was Driver's Seat. And I knew, okay, now we've got another slipping away. Now we're on the right path.
Right.
And I think the second song was Bullet Train, honestly, if memory serves right. So him and I, once we hit that lick, Andy and I are able to, it's kind of like rain. I always say it's like raindrops. They start falling and it just starts moving. Andy and I worked together since he was in Udo and I was in Accept. We've known each other a long time. He's an extraordinary guitar player. He probably does, I'd say, 80% of the solos on the record, this album, and co-written. There's 16 tracks on it, so I think he's co-written 13, 14, maybe 12 with me on it. But once the ball started rolling, we knew we were there. And then we get into the graphic side of it, right? So I'm looking at the cover. I said, I've got to resemble that, bring that moniker back. You know what I mean?
Exactly. The branding, like you were saying earlier, branding is a total thing. You need to have that where you carry things over, like Triumph always carried their logo over in there, and they're, so everybody kind of knew what you were getting. Aerosmith, same type of thing, right? Yeah, branding is everything.
Yeah, because it's locked into your head for 40, 30, whatever years, and when you see it, automatically your brain identifies. So I did, during the COVID disaster, a group out of Russia. I'm really sad for those guys because they have to kind of go around European countries to pay me and work with me because of the restrictions they're under right now. They're called Goot, Goot, bunch of really super guys. Lost you for a second. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just a second. There you are.
Okay.
And pardon me. And I've done a few records with them, survival kind of thing, but also I don't do records unless I think there's something to it. So I got to really know these guys, and the bass player, Simon, is a graphic designer. So they came to visit me early last summer, and I showed them the cover. I said, I've got to get back to this, Rosie the Riveter girl kind of thing.
Right, that style. Yeah.
So everything about the package is real Bangalore choir. And he was real effective in grasping what was in my noodle visually for that, because it had to all fall into the same box.
Yeah, definitely. Really like the new songs. And folks out there, you can check out the videos for Driver's Seat and Bullet Train. We got links for those videos on our website in the Hall of Video at talkingaboutrock.com. Check those out. Just very, very cool. And you touched on it a little briefly there. You just recently signed with BraveWords. How has that experience been? Mike Brandfold over there taking care of you?
More so than I ever imagined. I mean, and going back to the radio thing, for an artist to get #1 singles or top 10 singles and get other major radio stations to cover my material has been a challenge for me for 15 years. They'd play it once or twice and then it would kind of fade off. But I will say BraveWords really works their artists. And I was naive to all of the up-to-date text outreach, social media.
Yeah.
So Mike, chewed on me pretty hard about, hey man, your media platform sucks.
Yeah, he knows his tools. He knows all the ins and outs of it for sure.
And never quits. He's on me 24/7 about, we got to do this, we got to do that, with streaming, with different media outlets. And I've learned a lot because anybody over 40, we're kind of clueless with that stuff. And you see a lot of bands that nobody even knows who they are, but they've got 2 million followers.
Right.
And they're good bands, but they really know how to manipulate that audience. And that's where he's really good, and introducing me to people like you, Robert. So it's been nonstop, 2 months, this pre-media build up to the release of the album. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, it's so important nowadays. I mean, there's so many different platforms to get out there and advertise. But like you said, there's a lot of bands that people have never even heard of. They're pretty good, but they just don't have any push behind them. They don't have the right media partners, and that's what it's all about. Getting on playlists and getting these other stations involved. That's the game nowadays, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have it hasn't really changed. The mantra. I mean, in the old days, it was payola. They were paying radio stations to break groups. And then the A&R days that I lived through, you always had the guy out there pushing radio. You had your radio guy at the label.
Right.
It's kind of the same, but one thing that's empowering is you're connected directly to these people like Brandvold, where they tell you what they think, and then you can offer your suggestion, and you can actually have more control over your destiny. Because the biggest no is a complete sentence to me. And one thing back in the 80s and 90s, when you got signed, you didn't rock the boat. You just followed the leader. And a lot of the decision making that went on in those cocaine filled rooms and back offices were madness. I mean, like, what are you talking about? But I would say, yeah, okay, let's do it. But in my heart, I said, this is nuts. And I respect artists such as Tom Petty and people like that stood up against the machine and said, no, I'm not doing it. There were a few that did it. Axl Rose was one. They would always say, the guy comes in and throws himself on the floor and kicks his feet like a 2-year-old, but he always ends up, we always go, what can we do to make you happy, right? And when I started saying no, I was astonished at how people would come back and, okay, if they were really interested, how they would come back and say, okay, what will it do to make you happy? Where can we meet on this? Well, that's kind of that angers a guy, because you realize it's not that difficult. If you're not feeling right about it, just say, no, I don't agree. Because it's my music, and it's my career. It's my life. So a person behind a desk can make decisions and call shots really with that much interest in what you're doing. I mean, it's kind of like drive-through at McDonald's. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. And you're totally right. There were so many of those bands that were just, like you said, they got signed or they got put in a box of how they want to be presented. I always think of Heart as a total example for that. In the 80s, there was these big plush hairstyles and these clothing that they were wearing, because that's what was in fashion. That was, what the record company wanted them to present. That wasn't their style, and that's not what they wanted to do. That brought them to a different level. But yeah, they didn't agree with that at the time. And maybe sometimes it's a good choice. But like you said, you need to work with the artist and find that middle ground that works for both.
The artist has to have something in the proof in their pudding, though, as well. A guy like Brandvold's not going to promote a record that he doesn't go, wow. And that's the reaction that I've gotten. And it wasn't easy, man. I mean, when you go back to the big hair thing and stuff, we committed suicide. So I think the grunge thing was, we deserved it, because every one of us, including myself, dyed my hair blonde. The David Lee Roth frontman thing was just worn out. So the average human being who sees a guy in a video with 50 chicks goes, man, I'll never have that life. But then a guy comes out with a flannel shirt talking about heroin and my life's miserable and I live in a trailer from a rainy town in Seattle.
Right.
99% of the youth of that time were going through that. So it resonated.
Yeah.
And it was fresh. I mean, they were doing Sabbath riffs over, but it was the kick in the teeth that the music industry needed. I knew it was going to last maybe 5 years, which it did. But yeah, I mean, we committed suicide. I mean, I really believe. Look at Priest. I mean, they came out wearing the flashy clothes for a while. Scorpions. Everybody did the big hair. It was like, what are you guys doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody was leaning into it for a while. And like you were saying, it was kind of time for a change. I grew up obviously in the time of heavy metal and hair bands, and was used to big shows, and I wanted to see that. I didn't want to see a bunch of guys that looks like they came out of their garage in their sneakers playing. The music was all right. It really wasn't, what I had grown up listening to, and the people that I was around. It was the change, you're right, and I guess we all needed that at the time.
It happens about every 10, 15 years. Udo Dirkschneider is a good friend of mine. I've toured with him. I've known him since I replaced him, and I went to see an Udo show while I was in Accept, and there's something about sincerity with rock and roll, especially in Europe. It's not like America, like here today, gone later today. You know, you're kind of a flash and you're big for a couple hours. In Europe, if they believe in a band, they'll survive a few stinker records with you, but they'll stay loyal to you. And I went to see Udo one night, and I was watching him, and the people were going crazy in his solo band with Andy was playing. And I asked the management, "Go, what is it about that guy?" And you know what she said? He's one of them. He comes from a working class area called Zollingen, Germany. He's a guy that got out of it, out of that misery, and they're proud and they stand by him. And it was like getting punched in the face. I went, I get it. And that's the truth of the matter. He's one of them.
Yeah, so, definitely. You can see that in so many artists that really broke through with their fan base. You know, Ozzy Osbourne, perfect example coming through from his working town in Birmingham. You know, and just being an average, ordinary guy. You know, made it huge. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whole deal. You know, obviously made that city stand out. Same thing with Priest. You know, yeah. I mean, if you make good for your local city and you're shown as that type of working class hero. Yeah, you have to identify with your fans, right?
That's the black country where they come from, and it's an industrial. You know, you end up in the coal mines of the steel mills, and it's not a real pleasant place weather-wise and economically. You know, I mean, Ozzy was a plumber. That was his dream. You know, I mean, that's where his future was, and Sabbath created all of this stuff, really. And we're still talking about Ozzy today. He's been gone a few months. I mean, it's amazing. You know how you watch social media and somebody like the guy that died yesterday from Moody Blues, right? Everybody's R.I.P. all 24-hour cycle, and the next day nobody's even can remember his name. The thing about Ozzy is I get asked in every interview, they bring up his name. You know, he had an impact. He had that, like Lemmy had, you know.
He had the impact, and he had some of the best management right around. I mean, you saw his name in every way, shape, or form. They had him on talk shows, the whole nine yards. You know, they recreated his image every couple of years and brought him out. You know?
And he had multiple lineup changes, but it was him. He was the figurehead, and they had a marketable brand with Ozzy, and. Boom.
Yeah, but it's definitely, like I said, it's all about marketing. So for the new album, you guys are going to be hitting the road later this year, it looks like, supporting Girls School and Alcatraz, starting November 25th, I think. And when I was reading here, you guys will also include in your set some Accept songs and Bangalore Choir song. You're gonna mix it up a little bit.
I usually play 3 or 4 Eat the Heat songs in the set. I do Generation Clash. I do Ecstasy, Hellhammer. Typically in the set, which goes over great. The funny thing about that record is there was no middle. Nobody, they either hated me or they loved me when I took that job.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a different sound. Maybe people weren't prepared for. I mean, I went back and listened to it again last week, you know, and listened to some of the earlier stuff from Accept. It really wasn't that much of a departure from what I heard, really. But I guess the fans.
Metal Heart and Russian Roulette and those records, they were moving into, hey, we got to break in the States. Balls did like 500,000 units, but they never really broke it big. And that was the whole corporate decision. Let's get a guy who speaks English, blonde lead singer. Let's commercialize this thing. But what happened goes back to the Udo story, that loyalist saying, hey, what have you done to our band that we grew up with? We don't want this. But the ironic thing about that record is every show I play, people come to me and say, you know, I hated your guts, but I really love this record. I mean, I'll take it 36 years later. But you mentioned shows. I'm actually going out headlining Bangalore Choir in France this month. I'm heading out to do a bunch of gigs on my own. And then I tag up with Giles and the Alcatraz guys and the Girl School group, like you mentioned. I think we're going to do like 16 days. It's grueling, the one with Girl School. There's one day off. It's going to be go, 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 go. But that's how you got to survive in this business right now. You can't take 2 or 3 days off. And
no, it's tour, shows. And I think we've got the complete list of dates you guys can check out, bandsintown.com.
Bands in Town,
yeah. That's where it's all is. But just going back to a little bit what you're talking about earlier, I think being the front man or changing the front man in the band is one of the most difficult things. That's like what people identify the face of that band, the sound of that. That's got to be the hardest job for anybody that switches that out. I mean, it's so many times. I mean, there was a couple times it hit fine, case in point, like Ronnie Dio, but then there was times where it didn't hit, like Tim Ripper Owens, case in point. Great voice.
I was up for Priest. Same time as Ripper. Me, Ripper, and Ralph Seepers were the 3 contenders for Judas Priest. I had gone to Tennessee, and I got a fax in those days from Jane Andrews, and I had done a couple of solo kind of things called Circle of Silence with Greg Chason from Badlands, because Bangalore and Badlands did a bunch of gigs together with Jakey and Ray and the guys, and they used to sit and watch us play, and we had a pretty good nights with those guys. That was towards the end of the Badlands era. They were coming to an end, but because of Ray's health, but that's how I got to know Greg. But that record got in the hands of the Priest guys, and me, Ripper, and Ralph were the guys they were talking to. And I'm glad Tim got it, because, I mean, he was in that tribute group, and he was nailing that stuff, and he still does. I mean, the guy's amazing.
Yeah, just a tremendous voice. Tremendous voice. What he's doing with KK's Priest is really, really cool. I think it was just it was a super difficult time in music. That type of music wasn't selling very well. Tours weren't selling, and then to put a new frontman in the mix with this too, that's a super hard sell.
Motley, Iron Maiden, Priest, Accept, all had face changes in their groups, and then comes the evolution of the new movement of rock and roll. But I will say, in Europe, the metal thing withstood that a lot better than it did in America or Canada and those markets. And South America was still pretty strong, because they didn't quite get Soundgarden. I mean, I absolutely loved Chris Cornell, amazing singer, and my family actually listens to all that stuff here, so I'm exposed to Linkin Park and those bands, Slipknot, all that stuff on a daily basis.
That's another change, right? Linkin Park, the new singer for Linkin Park, right?
And you know how many people? They did 80,000 people here a few months ago in Italy, outside. 80,000. My wife went because she's a huge fan, but she really likes the new singer. And my stepson and her went, and there were 80,000 people there.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, so sometimes it works. I mean, the next one, case in point, coming out, the new Rush Dummer, that's coming out for that, Annika Niles. So we'll see if she fits in. We know how in high regard everybody held Neil Peart in that band. So
the beautiful thing about Geddy and Alex that I really love about that conversation is they actually asked Neil's family how they felt before they said, "Okay, we're going to do this," and they gave them the blessings. They said Neil would love you guys to keep playing. And the drummer that they've got, Jeff Beck would not hire slouches.
That's what I was saying to people. They were asking me, "Who is this person?" I'm like, "He's playing with Jeff Beck, man."
Yeah, I mean, that guy he would rather wrench his hot rods when he was around than play guitar. He was one of those guys who could pick up a guitar and just go do gigs and blow your mind.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Let me tell you, you're not going to be a slouch and play with Jeff.
Okay? Exactly. Well, what I was hearing, I guess. Geddy's bass tech was actually friends with them and looking at her saying, "Hey, you might want to check this drummer out." That's kind of how it started from what I heard.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's great for the female genre of the industry. I mean, look how many women are really stepping up to the plate and blowing minds. I mean, you got Nita, you got Lizzie Hale. I mean, these girls are kicking Beth Hart. I think it's great because it was a boys' club from the 50s to now pretty much, but there's some girls out there that they're pretty frightening on vocals. The chick from Arch Enemy, I mean, give me a break.
Arch Enemy, Burning Witches, but you said Lizzie Hale, tremendous.
Brutal power.
Yeah, but really, really cool stuff. So excellent. All right, so let's wrap up this episode of Talking About Rock. Thank you to my guest today, Dave Reece from Bangalore Choir. And folks out there, you can check out the latest videos, Driver Seat and Bullet Train, like I said, with links on our website in a hall of videos at talkingaboutrock.com.
And record physical release is October 24th, 2025. And I'm right now and I'm working on procuring U.S. dates on the East Coast, New York, PA, Ohio. We're talking about a spring Bangalore choir tour. I'll be using American players. Let me give a quick shout out to who's on the record. Can I do that?
Yeah, go right ahead.
You asked me. Okay, Andy Susamil, of course, is one of my main go-to co-writers, but there's 3 tracks, Love and War, I'm headed for, and the next video and single will be called I Never Meant To. It's about my daughters. It's a very cool ballad that I wrote with Mario Percadani, who worked with Hardline. And then there's a track called Sail On that I wrote with Marcel Singor, who's a Dutch guitarist who works with Plan 9. And then Ferdy Dornberg is on keyboards with the final song, Mending Fences. Do you have the whole album now?
No, I don't have the whole one yet. No.
Yeah, it's 16 tracks. It's part 1, part 2. And it's kind of like the Steinman Meatloaf thing. We had so many songs that I actually left 4 or 5 off the disc, so we didn't know what to do. So we act 1, act 2. So I'm hoping if this does as well as it seems to come out with act 3, act 4. But time will tell.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thank you very much, Robert, and Talking About Rock, and all your listeners. Check it out. I thank everybody that watches and listens, and all the fans. Without you, there's no me.
Exactly. So yeah, check out bandsintown.com. Guys, sign up for that. Get the upcoming dates. And folks out there, we hope you're doing your part by supporting live music wherever you are.
Absolutely.
David, again, Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother, and have a great day.